Hi there, and welcome to the Cotswold Explorer. I'm Robin Shuckburgh, and you find me again today at the Dancing Trousers Cookery School. I'm so pleased to be here again. I can't really believe my luck. I've managed to persuade Alexis Thompson that it's worth her while teaching me how to cook. She's one of the greatest cookery teachers in the county, so it's a great luxury for me. And I hope you're going to enjoy sharing that experience and indeed learning something as well. If you are, like me, somebody who's spent most of their lives not cooking, this is a brilliant way of starting. I'm looking forward to it very much. Don't forget, you can subscribe to this channel for free so that you're reminded every time we produce something interesting, particularly another cookery session. So please just press the subscribe button, and we'll see you later. Morning, Alexis, lovely to see you.
And you, Robin, welcome back.
Well, thank you for inviting me back. I've had such fun over the Christmas period doing the recipes that you've taught me.
Excellent.
My family are astonished by the fact that I can actually make anything, and it's working
anyone can
well.
cook. Anyone can cook.
Well, I'm not sure about that. But
oh
anyway,
no. Well, today I thought what we'd do, and it's interesting that you mentioned Christmas, is I thought we would go back to something, a different take on something we did earlier, right back at the beginning, which is using up leftovers. Yeah. Because I know you feel very passionately about not wasting food, as do I.
Absolutely.
So I thought, off the back of either a Christmas meal or any roast dinner that you cook, you always have a few vegetables left over. Yeah. So what we're going to do with these is make a delicious homemade soup.
Right.
So you will call it leftovers soup, and the joy of this is pretty much anything can go into leftovers soup.
Right.
So you've got a real selection of things in here left over from the Sunday roast. So I'll show you what we've got. So in here we've got a couple of roast potatoes and a few roast parsnips. Then of the other vegetables, we've got a bit of cauliflower, some green beans, and a little bit of carrot. And in here, I know that looks like porridge or bread pudding. That's celeriac puree.
Yeah.
Do you like celeriac?
I love celeriac.
Yes, I do. I think it's a much maligned vegetable, and it's got that beautiful, slightly aniseedy flavour. So we won't put too much of that in because it can become quite dominant.
Right.
But all of that's going to go into our soup, along with a few little things to just pep it up a bit. So the first thing I'm going to get you to do is make the base of the soup. We need our old friend onion and garlic. So this is good for you because this is reminding you of things you've done before. So you're going to crush your garlic and just make it really nice and fine, and then we'll cream it with a little bit of salt, and you're going to finely dice your onion. Okay. So why don't you start with the garlic?
I'll start with the garlic.
So that's your rubbish bowl there. You can pop all your rubbish in there.
Lovely. I seem to remember that's how we start.
Well, I would suggest you would, before you do that,
the ends off.
Take the little blunt end off. That's it. He's forgotten already.
I had forgotten already. It's hopeless, isn't it? There we go. No, that worked.
There we go. That's it.
Yes.
Perfect. Just enough garlic to give it a bit of zap. We don't want to make it too strong. So that's perfect. Into your rubbish bowl. So finely chop through your garlic.
Right.
Good chopping technique. That's all stayed in there.
Yes.
Oh, that smells good.
It does smell delicious, doesn't it?
Lovely. Great stuff. So take a nice big pinch of your sea salt there onto the garlic, and then just cream it. Use the fat part of your hand, Robin, not it. That's it. So that you're protecting your fingers. That's it. Perfect. And a little bit of salt means we've got some seasoning going on already, so we'll be careful not to add too much more.
Right. It's a great board, this. What's this? It's a plastic board,
it's that microband plastic. This is a professional grade board. It's very heavy. And it's a larger size probably than a domestic one. That'll do you nicely. Right. Right, I'm going to get you a dough scraper. Yes, for not using your fingers on that. And you can do your onion whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much.
Yes, these are nice, very solid. Obviously, as usual, I've put a non-slip mat underneath to keep you nice and safe.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to move around.
Right.
So, should we remind ourselves what's happening here?
I have a vague memory of taking the end off the onion, but only one end, because you like to hold on
Exactly.
to the
So we take the hair off the
Yes.
hairy end. So don't cut it off. Just twist the hair off with your
okay.
finger
All right,
and pop
okay.
it into your rubbish bowl, because the root's going to do all that work for you in a minute.
Yeah, okay.
That's it. Perfect. And then you're going to cut it through the
Downwards.
middle so that each side gets half the root. That's it. Beautifully done. And now, because you left the hat on, not very biologically correct,
Yeah.
you can use that to peel,
So
which
now
helps
that-
you
yes, I
peel
see.
down, because you've got something to get hold of.
Ah,
There we
getcha.
go. I'm just watching the blackbirds zipping about in the garden out there because
Yeah.
it's such a cold day. They're looking for goodies.
It is unbelievably cold out there,
It's bitter, isn't
I
it?
suppose we ought to be feeding the birds.
I am feeding the birds, I do. And as a little sidebar, if ever you have leftover oil, in fact, I did it with the oil I used to roast the potatoes and the parsnips, because there's always a little bit left over in the
Yeah.
bottom of the pan, and that you shouldn't put down the sink because it's damaging to both your drainage system and the general
And everyone
sewage
else's,
system.
yeah.
You can mix it up with a little bit of birdseed and make it into your own homemade little fat balls for the birds.
What a brilliant idea, because they're very expensive to buy.
They're very expensive to buy. The birds will happily chomp that up, and you've done a good thing, and you've got
Yeah.
rid of the oil in a really environmentally sound way. Right,
plan.
so quick reminder, you're going to do one horizontal cut, but not all the way through.
Yeah.
Then you're going to do cuts around like that, then you're going to chop through.
Okay.
So there we
Right,
go.
Okay. Let's see whether we can make that work.
You will make it work, I have no doubt. Look at that. It's like a pro.
Except that I'm holding my knife incorrectly. But
I wasn't going to say anything. Right, lovely. So
And then that's the way to finish it, presumably, isn't it?
that's it. Our rocking chop's gone a little bit out of the
so it
window.
is.
Oh, very good. Well corrected. That's it. That's it. Just makes you a little bit more efficient, keeps you safe.
Yes,
Perfect.
absolutely.
That's it. Very good. Same with the other half. And then the
Right.
rest of it is a doddle, because the rest of the vegetables
that
are
off.
already cooked.
Right,
so
yeah.
chopping them up is simple. Now, we're making an entirely vegetarian version of this soup, but you can use as your stock chicken stock, but as it goes, I'm going to make vegetable stock up
Right,
for this
okay.
one, but chicken stock would be delicious as well.
Chicken stock is a kind of all-purpose
Yes,
stock. really,
exactly so,
As long
because-
as you're not vegetarian, as you say.
As long as you're not a vegetarian, because it's a very mild stock, so it's actually perfect. You can use it for any other meat because it's so mild in flavour. Right,
okay.
let's scoop your onion and your garlic up into that bowl. Use your dough scraper.
Right, okay.
Get that all in there, and then that's ready to go. Lovely stuff. And it doesn't matter with this, we can be reasonably rough about the chopping, because ultimately it's all going to get blitzed.
Gonna cook
because we're
that,
going to,
all right,
we're
okay.
going to blitz it to a smooth soup.
Lovely.
Lovely. So that's that done. Job number one done. Now you're just going to work your way through everything that's in front of you, bar the celeriac, which is already a puree, and just roughly chop them, Robin. So,
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And you order makes no
Yeah,
difference.
exactly. That's it. And this is really just to increase the surface area a little bit, so that they will cook a little more quickly when we put the stock in with
Right,
them. That's
okay.
all we're doing this for.
Can I...
So parsnips,
Parsnips.
in. Yeah, lovely. I love parsnips.
So do I.
My other half can't be doing with a parsnip, and I've never quite understood why, because there's so little to find offensive about a parsnip. Sweet.
I suppose
and
it's the
soft.
sweetness that probably does it, isn't
might
it?
Be. I think it might
some
be.
people don't like the sweetness in
Yeah.
in otherwise savoury dishes.
Yes.
But I agree with you. This is rather fun. Makes a kind of fascinating mixture of things.
Yes, indeed. And because I gave you all the vegetables we had left over, I'm probably going to say that much more cauliflower and no more
Right,
probably
okay.
is enough. We don't even need to chop those carrots because they're cooked and they're already quite small, so we'll have
And they're
them
already
as they
cooked, just take
come.
them as
Yeah,
is,
they
okay.
can come out. We'll have that other bean though for a bit of green.
Yeah.
And then you're pretty much ready to go. So whilst you're finishing that chopping, I am going to get you going on the hob. I'm going to start heating the pan up so that
Right.
you're ready to rock and roll. There we go.
It's pretty
So-
straightforward so far. This is nice.
Yeah, this is very straightforward. So we're going to use a little bit of mild olive oil as our oil. So you can pop a little bit in there.
Right. A sort of tablespoonful. kind of
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. We're going to let that just heat up a little bit, and the first thing to go in, the principle of all soup making is the hardest vegetable needs to go in first because it'll need the most amount of cooking.
Yep.
So in this case, it's our raw onion, which is going to go in ahead of the rest of the gang. So once that oil has heated up, and it'll be just a little moment longer, that can go in and you can start gently sweating that. So we'll do our swapping places routine.
Okay, lovely.
There we go.
Lovely.
Right, you're in the driving seat.
You need the oil to heat up first because otherwise it soaks in.
Yeah, I don't worry about the oil being too hot though, and I would say you could get that in now, Robin. That will be absolutely fine. Sweating onions always takes a little bit longer than people think. I mean, truly, it can take up to 7 minutes to properly sweat onions.
Right, okay.
And by sweating, what we mean is soften them in the fat until they're translucent.
Yeah.
What we don't want to do is get any colour on them because a burnt onion is so bitter.
It's a very strong
it's not
flavour.
a nice flavour at all.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah. So you want them to soften up, go translucent, and presumably onions vary. So you're going to some onions will take longer than others.
And also the size of the bits you've chopped up, because you've got that off to a fine art now of that chopping it so that the pieces are the same size, which means they cook at the same rate. Yeah. Onions shouldn't vary between species. That should cook at the same rate. It's the size of the pieces.
Yeah, okay.
So that's nice. Got a bit of steam coming off that. Got that lovely smell of frying onions. Got to be one of the best smells.
It is the best smell in the world.
Just immediately wants whatever's on offer. So that won't take too long at all. While you're doing that, I'm going to turn your temperature down just a tiny bit. Mm-hmm. Once that's softened, you can start to add all your other vegetables in and give them a little turn round as well.
Right, okay.
And all I'm going to do is make up some vegetable stock. So as I said, you could use chicken stock for this, which would be delicious. We are using, this is a very well-known make, and I don't mind giving it a plug because I think it's great stuff, called bouillon. And it's a lovely vegetable stock. Comes in the form of powder. I am going to mix, that's about 4 teaspoons in there, and I'm going to make up about 1 litre with hot water. And I'll explain why we're doing what looks like quite a large amount in a minute. I would say, do those look softened, Robin? They look good.
Certainly getting there.
Yeah, I would say 30 seconds more, and then you can start putting your other veggies in. So I'm going to disappear, but only because the kettle's in here.
Right. Well, that's a short 30 seconds, but I think that looks excellent. I'm going to start popping some of these in. Presumably the harder. I'm now working entirely on my own, you understand, and of course it's very
You're
dangerous.
doing very well.
Alexis laughing in the background. Right.
Lovely. Right, that's all in. Yeah, so exactly that. All we're looking to do is very slightly soften that at this stage, but because everything bar the onions was already cooked, that you're not frying it, we're just sort of mixing it all up together.
And warming it.
And warming it through and ready. And also, if there are any really big bits, you can break them up a little bit, you know, if they're any really big bits of cauliflower, give them a bit of a break up. And then in a moment, we're going to add some of our lovely celeriac puree, but I don't want that to catch on the bottom because that is already in puree form. So we'll allow that to soften a little bit more. I will bring your stock through and then we'll be ready for the next stage.
Well done.
Okay, vegetable stock. Now, this is a large quantity, and the reason it's a large quantity is a lot of the vegetables you have in there are very starchy. We've got potato, we've got parsnip, even carrots, very starchy. And when you blitz them later, they will suddenly thicken the soup enormously. They act as their own thickener. So we're going to need, we may well need a bit more than this even. So I would pop your celeriac puree in.
Right. How much of this would you like?
I would say you could put probably most of it, because we like celeriac, don't we?
Yes,
stick it in. It's not a huge quantity.
No, okay.
Stick it in. There we go.
All right. And
lovely. Quick stir round. And then when you're ready, Robin, I would say you can add at least half of what's in there straight away.
Okay. Something like that?
Yep, give that a good old stir round and let's see what we've got. I would say add maybe a couple of hundred millilitres more.
A bit more than that.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
In it goes. Lovely, that'll do you nicely. That's perfect, and what I'm going to do is just raise your temperature slightly. The soup's temperature, not yours.
No,
not going to do anything racy. And we're going to allow that to come up to a gentle simmer. And a gentle simmer is just a few bubbles bursting on the surface, not a rushing boil.
Right, okay.
And then we're going to go away and have a cup of coffee and a chat, because that will need about 20 to 25 minutes of simmering to get those vegetables really nice and soft, all the mixtures melding together before we puree it.
Brilliant.
So stock in, and I think what we'll do is we'll add a little bit of zip to this. So why don't we put just a little bit of flaked chilli in to give it a little bit of warmth? So I'm going to take the lid off for you. Flaked chilli is very strong, so my great rule is you can always come back for a bit more, but once you put too much in, you're in trouble. So
that's
I would say for now plenty.
Okay.
Yeah, very good for now.
Do that.
In it goes. My other most favourite thing is turmeric, which I don't know if you know turmeric.
I don't know turmeric.
It's in lots and lots of curries. It's a format in lots of curries. It's very strongly coloured, so if you use your kitchen implements on it, it will stain your wooden spoon bright yellow.
Right.
It's fantastically good for you. There's a lot of evidence that it's got lots of anti-inflammatory properties. So you stir, and I'll give a little shake of turmeric, and it will also add a really pretty colour to the soup. And because the soup's got a bit of parsnip in, it sort of accentuates the yellow, gives it a very pretty colour. It's a flavour that if you smell it, it's actually it's a member of the cinnamon family, I think, and it's too much of it can be a little too harsh. It's quite a punchy spice. So you've got to be careful, but a little bit I think is lovely. And look, you can see already that colour has pinged up, hasn't it? So we will now leave that. It's simmering nicely. We'll pop the lid on and we'll leave that to simmer away.
Fantastic. We'll come back in a minute or two. Okay, well now it's been simmering for what, about 20 minutes?
About 20 minutes, and it's been on a nice gentle simmer. We've kept the lid on for that because we didn't want to boil off too much of the liquid. So what we should now have is a mixture where all the vegetables are suitably softened, and obviously that would make rather a chunky soup. So we're now going to blitz it with one of my favourite kitchen implements, which is a stick blender, which comes with various attachments. I think the manufacturers call this Bigfoot, because it's got the little tri-blade on the bottom. Do watch your fingers. Don't press the button by mistake and put your finger anywhere near it. And the great thing about this is it stops the need for moving hot liquid into the goblet of a food processor, which is a really dangerous and very messy business. You can just puree it all in the pan. So you're going to insert that. I'm going to stand a little bit back just in case of splash, and then it's that bottom button, Robin, that's it, and you can just start giving it a zuzz, that's it, and move it round as you go. Keep your finger on it, that's it, there we go.
It's extraordinary because it's already sort of thickening it up.
Yeah, all that starch is being released and thickening the soup up, so keep going. You may want to tilt the pan for the last bit, just tip it into the corner, that's it. We've got you on a non-slip heat-proof mat so that you're quite safe. And actually it doesn't create any splash, does it? They're brilliant.
As long as you keep them under the surface.
Should be fine. Keep going, that's it.
This is almost done I should be tipping it in that direction.
That's it, there we go. That looks great. Now that looks very good. So I would say I'm going to give you something to put that in so that we don't get mucky. What we'll do is we'll have a taste now. So if you rest him in there. Now that is what my mother would have called a gut buster, because that's very thick. If we show Ross, look, that is a really, really thick soup. And that is simply the starch that's been released from the potatoes, the parsnips. So my recommendation would be that we thin that a little. So we've got a little bit more stock in there. So I would pop a bit in. Let me get you another spatula.
We'll do this sort of bit by bit.
Exactly, because you can always add a little bit more. Give it a stir.
Okay.
And let's just get it to a slightly more soup-like consistency. That's looking good. That's looking very good. So on a very cold, wintry day, that looks rather nice,
It looks
that
wonderful,
consistency.
yeah.
So now, as you know, what you have to do, being a good cook, is taste.
Taste, always
and then we'll
taste.
adjust the seasoning accordingly. So
Okay.
we'll see what we think. Yes, it's good and hot.
Oh, I say, that's delicious.
So, does it
It has
need...
a wonderful sweetness. It does need salt.
Right, okay. Well, you know I'm quite a fan of salt. You
Yeah.
add as much as you feel is appropriate and a little
Okay.
black pepper. Give it a stir.
Okay.
I'll give you a
Of course,
spoon
I
of
have no idea how much is appropriate, actually. Because
Well,
if I
do you
add
know,
a-
what
a
is appropriate is
thing-
what tastes nice to you.
Yes, so carry on tasting
Yes,
is the nature of the game,
yes.
isn't it?
I mean, as long as you're not eating lots of processed food, which I know you're
have a little
not.
bit. No, I don't anymore.
You should have a little bit of salt in your food. It brings your taste buds alive, and it makes everything taste more like itself.
Yes,
if you know what I mean.
it does, and
Yeah.
I mean it makes a huge difference
Yeah.
because actually without salt, I mean, food is bland and horrid.
Yeah.
And that's what is the point of that? Right. Well, that immediately makes a massive
Makes a
difference.
huge difference.
I'm going to put a tiny bit
I'm
more
going
in,
to
I
I'm going
think.
to show you another thing which will make a difference. And might be surprising, which is if we put just a little squeeze of lemon juice in as
Right.
well, it will just lift it a tiny bit.
Yeah.
So
brilliant.
I'll wash your spoon again so that we're not
Yeah,
double
so we're
dipping.
not double dipping. So it's that double dipping business, which one can do at home, but not.
Of course,
Not-
but
not here.
Not here. Not here in the magic kitchen. Right.
Okay.
Have a little taste, see what you think. Is that chili coming through a little bit? Are you getting a little
A
bit
little
of warmth?
tiny
Yeah.
bit, but not too much,
No.
which is quite good for me because I'm not a huge
No,
sort of
you
strong
just want
chili
that
fan.
warmth coming
Yeah.
through. So
I think that's absolutely wonderful.
perfect.
Absolutely
well, there you
wonderful.
go.
That is delicious.
And that was your leftovers. All we've added: onion, garlic, and a bit of stock, and you've got,
Yeah.
you know, at least 3 very good servings of soup.
And this is a really high quality soup. I mean,
Yeah.
you'd be very happy in any environment, restaurant or otherwise, getting a soup as good as that.
Yeah,
It's
and
actually
you can
delicious.
garnish it when you put it on the table. A little
Yeah.
scattering of parsley on the top, swirl of
Little
single
swirl of
cream,
cream, yeah.
a little bit of olive oil. All looks lovely. Shall we pop some in a bowl? Shall we do
Yes, let's do that.
do the proper thing?
Very
So we'll get rid of our
I'm not
spatula.
allowed to.
So into warmed bowls. Always important to warm your bowls.
Right.
Because otherwise you're putting lovely hot food into freezing cold bowls. So there we go. Little bit of crusty bread, a bit of sourdough on the side. That would be good, wouldn't it?
It would.
So there we go. So as we say, a little bit of cream on top of that would be great. Or the other thing that I also rather like, which is rather indulgent, is a little bit of extra virgin olive oil like that. A tiny bit more pepper just on the top. Voila.
Brilliant, isn't that
There we
beautiful?
go.
Absolutely fantastic.
Homemade soup made out of leftovers.
Yeah, and it
Can't
looks
say fairer
just
than that.
beautiful.
There we
I'm
are.
gonna- I'm
Let's
gonna
slide
taste
it
it
across.
quickly.
Yes, you made it, chef. You get to
You get to
you get
do
to
the first
taste it.
tasting,
Yeah.
and then you can have a go and tell me that it's really
Right.
disgusting after all.
It won't be really.
That's absolutely wonderful.
There we
It
go.
really is, and that would stop you ever again buying a soup in
Oh,
some
that's
kind of
nice
ready-made
because you're
form.
getting the celeriac and very
it's
nice.
really, really good.
Great.
Well, the
Really
moment has
good.
come for Ross to try it now, so we must give him a go. Thank you very much, Alexis.
My
That's
pleasure as
absolutely
ever.
fantastic.
My pleasure.
And we'll see you again next week.
Yes, we will.
There you go. Well, now that really was fun, and it does teach one a lesson how important it is not to waste things, because that soup was so delicious, and it was really made up of things that in the past I might so easily have just simply thrown in the bin. It was great fun, and thank you to Alexis for that. Don't forget, you can find us on Facebook, you can tweet at Cotswold Explore, and on YouTube, of course, you can subscribe to our channel for free. Please do so, and we'll see you next month. Take care.